Daily Streak for Tuesday, May 15th. I'm Jake Crane.
And I'm Steve DeBerry. In today's episode, we'll be talking about 4 pretty awesome matchups for this great Tuesday. And we're going to start off with some ice hockey, but not the kind you'd think of. This isn't NHL. This is the World Hockey Championships. Jake, our first matchup, or the matchup we're going to be talking about, is the good old US of A against the Swiss national team. US has to win by 2 goals. What do you like here?
Well, Steve, let me just get this out of the way. The Swiss are not to fear here.
Okay.
They're probably gorging themselves on Swiss chocolate right now and being very indecisive. USA fielding a lot of NHL players on their squad. They just beat Finland 5-0 in Finland, while the Swiss lost to Slovakia 1-0. I see no reason why the U.S. will not get off to a lead. Even if they go through the whole game, they're up 1-0. Switzerland's going to pull a goal. USA will get something in there. USA all the way here by at least 2.
I like that. Swiss so far in this championship are 2-4, 4 losses. They're sitting close to the bottom in their group. They have a -2 goal differential. The USA at the same time, I think they're 3-1-2 maybe, or 3-2-1, but they've been doing pretty good and beating up on some pretty awesome teams by 2 goals, and their goal differential is +12. So they've definitely got the better end of a lot of teams. I like the USA here as well.
Agree. Before we go any further, I want to remind the audience to follow us on Twitter at Streakin Jake and Streakin Steve. A lot of times we will tweet before a game starts if, let's say, a pitcher gets scratched or there's weather conditions or some injury update will change the course of one of our picks. We'll tweet it, let you guys know, which we won't be able to broadcast. But let's get on to the second matchup of the day, NBA playoffs, Game 2 in Miami. We've got Pacers 3-pointers made or tied versus the Heat winning margin. Steve.
So we saw in Game 1 the Pacers came out with something to prove. They were up a good portion of that game. Excuse me, they fizzled out a little at the end, but they looked very good. The Heat are going to be playing without Chris Bosh, one of the big 3, and also between those 3, that's pretty much all their contract money. They don't have much after those 3 players. So when you remove a piece like that, it really, really weighs on them. But after he went out in the first game, the Heat were about +18 point differential. LeBron James and Dwayne Wade seemed to do better in the open court. They were controlling the game. They looked good. I like the Heat to win by double digits. They didn't get it done in the first one. I feel like the Pacers really came out with a lot of energy, and now they're in the mix of this series, and they won't have that energy to start Game 2. I like the Heat to control this game from start to finish, and I like them by double digits.
My concern is that the Heat are just not very deep. You take Bosh out of that equation, you've got James and Wade shouldering a huge chunk of the load. One of them gets in foul trouble, all of a sudden you are stretched very, very thin. You can't count on Mario Chalmers to drain threes over and over again. And the bench is not as deep as the Pacers. Obviously the Pacers don't have the star power, but they're deep. They're deep and they're talented, and they're going to be fighting like hell not to go down 0-2. I think that the Heat probably still win this game. I'm going to take the Pacers threes plus the tie option with a lot of confidence there. I think they're a tough team, a little bit tougher than people realize, and they're very, very capable of keeping these games close.
How is Anderson Varejao been this year in the playoffs?
Let's move on.
How about Daniel Gibson? How about Sasha Pavlova, whatever his name was? That was LeBron James' supporting cast in Cleveland when he took them to the finals to play the Spurs. He doesn't need a supporting cast around him. Just having Dwayne Wade there, I think it's going to be enough. I feel very, very good about this one, folks.
All right. Big disagreement there. I don't think.
The Heat, you got the Pacers. I think that's caution. Probably just stay away from it because you got 2 strong opinions.
Okay.
But let's move on. Let's talk about some baseball. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Reds at the Atlanta Braves. This game's in Atlanta. Who do you like?
Tough call. Reds beat the Braves in Atlanta yesterday. Today you've got Johnny Cueto versus Hudson. And Cueto is an excellent pitcher that no one really ever talks about, but he is pretty much a shutdown pitcher at this point. Nobody's been able to figure him out. Hudson had a great game last time out, but that was against the Cubs offense, and nobody knows about the Cubs offense better than this guy the last few days. The Rockies, who have a pretty decent offense, beat him up the last time that they played. I'm looking for Votto and the Reds here to hit well and take another one in Atlanta.
I agree with you. I like the Reds as well. Tim Hudson he's getting old. He's 36 now. He's got a 4.5 ERA this year. The young Johnny Cueto, the Dominican, he's got a 1.12 ERA. So if you're just strictly picking on pitching matchups, this one's very, very lopsided for the Reds. Both teams hit pretty well. Same thing in my notes. Yeah, Hudson pitched well last game. It was against the Cubs, and they have not been hitting well this year. I like the Reds, and I got a pretty good amount of confidence on them as well, and we both agree on them. So
I do too. I mean, the Braves are really good hitting, but you saw yesterday Cincinnati neutralized it, and Cincinnati's throwing an even better pitcher at him today. I think we're very high confidence on the Reds here.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got one more to talk about. What are we talking about now?
More NBA playoffs. Gotta love them. They're exciting so far. We're going to be talking about the Clippers' single-digit loss or win in Game 1 in San Antonio. San Antonio has to win by double digits. What are your thoughts?
Let me pull out some stats that I pulled out.
Stat Steve right there.
Stat man. Pulled this out last time we talked about the Spurs, and we haven't had a chance to talk about the Spurs in a while. You want to know why?
Because they've been resting.
They've been resting. They've been sitting on their butts watching everyone else play because they swept the Jazz. The Spurs are, in their last 14 games, 11 of them have been won by double digits. And that was against very, very good competition. You got the Lakers in there, the Mavericks in there, 4 games against the Jazz in there. Any team in the Western Conference they played on the end of their schedule. They've won 14 games in a row. 14 games in a row. They're on a 14-game winning streak. They haven't lost since that April 11th loss at home to the Lakers, where they sort of felt embarrassed. They sort of got recommitted.
I mean, they sat players in that game too. They sat. I mean, they really are. They haven't lost in a long time.
They haven't lost in a long time. They're well rested. The Clippers are coming off a long series. We said the same thing about the Lakers on yesterday's show, and look what happened last night to the Lakers. They got hammered. One team was well rested, the other wasn't, and we saw how that went. I like the Spurs, and I've got a lot of confidence on the Spurs. You might hear about them again later.
You pretty much said it all. I will be rooting for the Clippers very hard in this one. I want them to win this, but the series they just got out of was up and down, last second, overtime, emotionally draining. They went into Memphis and won Game 7. That's a huge high that they're now coming down off of. The Spurs basically ran through the Jazz like the Globetrotters run through the Generals. It was a cakewalk. I mean, this first game, they're going to be energized, they're going to be ready. Popovich is going to have them disciplined as always. This is going to be a walk in the park for San Antonio. They're going to win this by double digits.
And I mean, anytime Jake pulls out a Harlem Globetrotters reference, you know he's serious about something.
Absolutely.
So that should tell you all you need to know about the Spurs tonight. Well, let's take a quick break. Some trouble in Dogtown.
Oh, Charles.
The Lord of Dogtown did not pull out the victory last night, but he's looking to bounce back. He's been thinking about this one all day, so we'll have his pick when we come back.
Welcome back. Time for Charles to be making his pick of the day. Let's see if he can get back into the green. Steve, what will Charles be picking today?
Charles is picking not only his favorite sport, but he's picking from his favorite country, the land of the Germans. Even though he's a Manchester Terrier, he's gravitated towards Bayern Munich.
Yep.
But we're not talking about the main Bundesliga here. We're talking about second tier. We're talking about the promotion playoff.
The dirty.
We've got Hertha Berlin winner draw against Fortuna Dusseldorf. Just the win.
Is Hasselhoff an option? Is he playing?
Hasselhoff could be in the starting lineup for Fortuna.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Chuck, who you got? There you have it. Hopefully Charles will get back to his winning ways. We'll be right back with our locks of the day right after this. Welcome back. Time for our locks of the day. Steve, why don't you start us off? Who is Chris DeBerry picking today?
Chris is going with the MLS. He is going with the Portland Timbers, and I believe, let me just make sure, yeah, we got them playing the Houston Dynamo.
Wow. Are the Timbers at home?
The Timbers are on the road in Houston. This is a brand new stadium in Houston. They just opened it up last week.
Is it dynamic?
It is the most dynamic of all the stadiums in the world. So it's a tough place to play.
All right.
So he's locking them in. He had a nice pick yesterday with the Indians, so he's going to try to continue with that momentum.
Very good.
I finally gotten back to 500.
Up top.
It took a little bit. It took a little bit, but I'm back in the game, and I'm locking in the Spurs. Like we talked about before, they've looked great.
Yeah.
Been beating everyone by double digits. Globetrotter, comment here.
Yeah, that's the pick.
That's the pick.
You gotta go with that, folks. If you're not on a huge streak, even if you are on a huge streak, just put the Spurs in there. All right, lock it up.
Yeah, if you got like an L11 or an L12, and you got a big streak like that, I'd put it on.
I would too. There's a lot of good props out there today. I like the USA prop. I like the Spurs a lot. I am going to lock in the Cleveland Indians with Derek Lowe pitching. He is 5-1. He's just smoking people. The Twins, as are well documented, I think they're 15 games below 500. They're just in the cellar right now. And the pitcher they're throwing, Marquise, he's been very, very shaky. I think Lowe continues the domination. Indians beat up on the Twins.
I don't like it. You know, rule number 114 of the streak. Do you know that rule?
What is rule number 114, Steve?
Rule number 114 is this: you never lock in the Indians unless Wild Thing's pitching.
Good points. Good points.
If Wild Thing's not on the mound, then you never know which way it's going to go for the Indians. So
good point.
So you're pretty risky with this lock, but we'll see how it works out for you.
We'll see how it works out. Let's hope we both end up over 500 tomorrow. We'll be back.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. We'll be back tomorrow with the Wednesday edition of the Daily Streak. Good luck out there, Streakers.